I want you to picture a family reunion. Not a hostile one. Not one where people are already arriving with grievances in their pockets. Just the ordinary kind, folding tables in a backyard, someone's potato salad, children running through a sprinkler in the corner, the specific comfortable noise of people who have known each other their entire lives and have long since stopped performing anything for each other. And picture one conversation inside that reunion, the kind that happens at folding tables after 2 beers, where someone who has been waiting for an opportunity to say something finally finds the table arrangement working in their favor. The target of that conversation is a man of 26 who dropped out of college, who has been working a series of jobs that don't add up to a trajectory, who drives a car with a dent in the passenger door that he hasn't had fixed because he hasn't had the money to fix it. The person saying the thing is his uncle, but the people nodding along are his cousins and his aunt and 2 family friends who don't know enough to push back. The thing being said, dressed up in the language of concern but constructed entirely as verdict, is this: you are the failure of this family. Not in those exact words, because people who say things like this rarely use those exact words. In the language of at least you're getting it out of your system and I just worry about where you'll be at 40 and your father had such high hopes. Same thing. Just slower. My name doesn't matter. What matters is what happened to that 26-year-old over the next 12 years, and what he found when he walked into the boardroom of that company on a Tuesday morning in March. Stick around. Welcome back to Blood and Backbone, where we talk about the moments families don't put in the holiday newsletter. If you're new here, these stories are dramatized for entertainment, but being measured against a family standard you never agreed to and found wanting, that part needs no dramatization at all. If it's real for you too, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Let's call him Marcus. 38 years old when this story ends, 26 when it begins. The son of a family that had a particular identity built around professional respectability, a grandfather who had been an engineer, a father who was a senior accountant at a regional manufacturing firm, an uncle who managed operations at the same firm, cousins who were following the same general trajectory of college, credential, corporate employment, lateral move, promotion. It was not a bad identity. It produced stable lives and comfortable retirements and the specific satisfaction of people who know what they are and are not troubled by the knowing. Marcus did not fit inside it and had known this since approximately age 16, when he had looked at the trajectory laid out in front of him and felt not ambition but a kind of suffocation that he had spent the next decade trying to outrun by trying the trajectory anyway, then dropping out, then working the jobs that didn't add up. Then arriving at the folding table in the backyard at 26 to hear his uncle summarize the situation. What his family had never asked, because the family's framework did not include the question, was what Marcus was actually good at. The answer, which he had been assembling privately and somewhat chaotically since his late teens, was this: he understood people. He understood what they wanted before they said it. He understood what made them trust someone and what made them stop. He understood the specific gap between what a product claimed to be and what people actually needed it to be, and he had an instinct for closing that gap that was, in the right context, worth considerably more than a credential. The right context, it turned out, was sales and then business development and then, with enough time and enough right contexts, building something of his own. But at 26, sitting at that folding table listening to his uncle, none of this had been named or organized or proven yet. It was just a collection of instincts in a young man with a dented car who couldn't explain himself in the language his family used to evaluate people. He drove home from the reunion and told his girlfriend, a woman named Priya who had been watching his family watch him for 3 years with the particular clear eyes of someone who does not share a family's blind spots, what his uncle had said. She asked him one question. She asked him what he would do if he knew nobody was keeping score. He thought about that for a long time. He was still thinking about it 6 months later when he took a commission-only sales position at a small software company that sold workflow management tools to mid-sized businesses, a job that his family would have described as not a real job if they had known about it, which he ensured they did not for the first year. The first year was hard in the specific way of commission-only positions, which is that you eat what you catch, and early in your catching career you catch very little. He made enough to cover rent and food and not the car dent, and he worked 12-hour days learning not just how to sell but how to understand the businesses he was selling into, their structures, their friction points. Their specific organizational frustrations that the software was supposed to solve and sometimes did, and sometimes addressed incorrectly because the product team was building from assumptions rather than from the conversations Marcus was having every day with actual customers. He started writing those conversations down. Not formally, not as a documented process, just notes in a phone application. Patterns he was noticing about what customers actually needed versus what they were being offered. Gaps that seemed obvious from where he was sitting but apparently were not obvious from where the product was being built. He brought the notes to his manager after 6 months. His manager, a woman named Christine who was 20 years into the industry and had a particular gift for recognizing the difference between a salesperson who wanted to sell and a salesperson who wanted to understand, did something that changed the direction of his professional life. She did not dismiss the notes. She brought them to the product team and then brought Marcus into the room. The product team's response to being shown their own gaps by a 6-month commission salesperson was mixed, as product team responses often are, but Christine was the kind of manager who moved things forward regardless, and within 3 months Marcus was spending half his time in a hybrid role that had no formal title and paid him the same as the sales position, but gave him access to conversations that most people in his position would not have been in for years. He was 27. He stayed at that company for 3 years, learning everything it would teach him, and then left to join a startup that was building a competitor product. Brought along by Christine, who had moved there herself and wanted him in the room when the company figured out what it actually was. The startup was acquired 2 years later by a larger company at a price that produced, for Marcus, his first significant payout. Not retire forever money, but enough to change the shape of what was possible and enough to make the car dent a conscious choice rather than a financial constraint. He chose not to fix it. He has never fully explained why, but people who know him well understand it as a specific act of record keeping, a tangible reminder of a particular folding table in a particular backyard, kept in place not out of bitterness but out of the specific superstition of people who have learned that remembering exactly where they started is part of what keeps them moving. The company he founded at 31 started as a consulting practice and became, over 4 years, a software company in the same workflow management space he had learned from the inside out, building the product that addressed the gaps his notes had identified 7 years earlier. The ones the original company had understood partially and the startup had understood better, and that Marcus now understood completely from having been in every part of the pipeline, sales and product and customer success and the acquisition conversation and the post-acquisition integration chaos that always revealed which products were actually solving real problems and which ones were solving imagined ones. His company had 40 employees and 3 enterprise clients and a revenue run rate that had recently crossed a number with 8 figures in it when the opportunity appeared. The regional manufacturing firm that employed his father and his uncle was not a large company. It was a stable, established, mid-sized business that had been operating for 40 years and whose owners were a family in their 70s who had been discussing an exit for 3 years without finding a buyer who understood what they had built well enough to pay what it was worth. Marcus understood what they had built, because workflow management software for manufacturing operations was a specific subsector he had been learning for 12 years, and because he had been watching this particular company from the specific vantage point of a son and nephew for his entire adult life and had a more detailed picture of its operations, its inefficiencies, its genuine strengths, and its untapped value than any outside buyer was likely to develop through due diligence alone. He made an offer. The owners accepted after a 30-day process that Marcus has described as the most focused month of his professional life. The acquisition closed on a Tuesday morning in March when Marcus was 38 years old. His father found out from his uncle, who found out from a colleague, which is not the way Marcus would have chosen for the information to travel but which he had anticipated was likely and had made no particular effort to prevent. The call from his father came that evening. It was not a long call. His father was not a man with a large vocabulary for complicated emotions, and the emotion he was navigating was complicated, which was the specific combination of pride and contrition and the particular embarrassment of a parent who remembers what they said and now has to decide whether to say what they feel. He said he was proud of him. He said he should have said it a lot sooner. He did not reference the reunion specifically. Marcus did not prompt him to. His uncle did not call. Marcus had anticipated this also and found, when the anticipation became reality, that it mattered less than he had expected it to matter, because the person he had built himself into over 12 years did not require his uncle's acknowledgement to know what it was worth. He called Priya, who had become his wife 6 years earlier and who had asked him the question he had never stopped thinking about since the night of the reunion. What would you do if you knew nobody was keeping score? She answered on the first ring. He told her it was done. She said she knew it would be. He asked her if she remembered the question she had asked him 12 years ago. She said of course she did. He said the answer turned out to be this. He did not say anything else for a moment and she understood what he meant, which is one of the things that marriages are for. His father still works at the company, now Marcus's company, in a role that has not materially changed. His uncle took early retirement 6 months after the acquisition, the reasons for which were officially structural but which Marcus understood more precisely than that without needing to discuss them with anyone. The car still has the dent. He drives it twice a week, to and from the office, on purpose. Here's what I keep coming back to with this one. Marcus did not build his company to buy his family's respect. He built it because Priya asked him what he would do if nobody was keeping score, and the answer was so clear and so specific and so entirely his own that he spent 12 years following it to its conclusion. The fact that the conclusion included the company his uncle worked for was not something he planned. It was something the universe apparently planned, and Marcus has always had the good sense to recognize when the universe is offering you a moment and to walk into it without making a speech. He walked in on a Tuesday morning. He let the building do the talking. If this story hit close to home for you, drop a comment and tell me who told you that you were the failure and what you did with it. I have a feeling the comment section on this one is going to run long. And if you want more stories like this one, I've got a new one coming this week. Hit subscribe, turn on notifications, and I'll see you in the next story.